And we're live for another very, very important discussion. And I hope tonight's discussion should be an educational one, a discussion where everyone feels that there's no judgment. We're not here to educate anyone. Tonight, Liza and I are going to be talking and just having a conversation about a much, much needed topic. I'm going to wait for Liza to join us, and as soon as Liza comes on the live and joins us, we're going to begin this deep conversation. A conversation that came about when I got a call early today. So I was not planning to go live. I haven't really been doing lives very often. And unless I really have something that I feel is very important for me to discuss, something that I feel connected to, I don't really do a live. Okay, she's requesting. So with that, tonight felt like a day where it has to be discussed. Liza, there you go. Lizachka, do you see me? There you go. Hi, dear.
Yes.
How are you?
Hi.
So nice to see you.
You too. How are you?
I'm doing good. Put your camera a little bit. Maybe you're too far from the screen. I always wish somebody tells me this when I'm on the live. No, go. Yes, much better. Perfect. Как я нормально? You can see me, right?
Very much.
Perfect. Beautiful. So I called Liza early today, randomly. This was not planned. She had no idea I was going to reach out to her, right, Liza?
Yes.
And even myself, I got a call and somebody gave me this much needed idea to talk about the concept of divorce. Now, I'd rather talk about the concept of marriage.
Yes.
And talk about the concept of how to be beautifully married and how to stay married and how to enjoy this relationship. But unfortunately, we're living in a time zone where statistically there are almost 50% marriages and 50% divorces.
Yeah.
And not only are we talking about divorces rising, we're also dealing with the younger generation who is dating and is afraid to even get into a committed relationship because they're afraid, will this marriage, will my relationship even last? So I want to have a discussion today with Liza, not because we have all the answers and we have this 100% beautiful marriage, because there is no such a thing as everyone's marriage being 100% beautiful. There's no such a thing. Marriage is not meant to always be 100%. It wouldn't be exciting if we're always 100%. It's a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down. We have challenges, we have disagreements. But Lisa and I came on tonight to the live because we have been married for Bli Ayin Hara over 20 years. And I think with experience, we can contribute to this conversation. Now, it's not to say that anybody who's listening to today's live should keep in mind, we're not talking about anybody in specific.
Yep.
We are not judging anyone.
That's right.
If any example that we're using seems like it's about you, no, it's just an example. So I don't want anybody to take anything personally. And if you are divorced, there's nothing wrong with you. Things happen in life. Things don't work out. So it's not to say that, oh, if we're talking about we shouldn't get divorced and they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that, and maybe you're divorced, so you feel offended. No. So keep those disclaimers in mind, because it's very important that nobody listening today should take anything besides valuable information. If you hear something and it seems like it's important to you, it's valuable, it can help you, you walk away. If something doesn't resonate with you, you don't seem like it helps you, you move on. So this is something important to take into consideration. Now, Liza, I remember, by the way, whoever is watching, I always do this test in the beginning of my lives. Just write a comment that you can hear me or see me. Люба, говорите на русском. Okay, so there we go. We tested it. I just had to make sure that we are able to see comments, because sometimes Facebook is very, very interesting and we see no comments during the live. So this just showed me that we will be able to see comments during the live. So please feel free to give us comments. My Russian is not as great as Liza's. It's difficult for me. We will definitely try to speak in Russian when we can, but primarily I will try to talk mostly in English. So я буду говорить большинство на английском языке. Лиза может говорить на русском больше, чем я, потому что ей это легче, чем мне.
Могу и на бухарском.
Я тоже могу на бухарском.
Больше.
Поэтому те, которые нас не понимают, я очень извиняюсь заранее, потому что для меня это тяжеловато, когда я должна мыслить на русском языке. Но вы как-то поймете, если будете прислушиваться, мой английский не тяжелый, вы нас поймете. So Lisa made a Facebook post a couple of weeks back, and I actually connected with the things she said. Of course, some things I agreed with, some things I didn't agree with, as everybody watches my videos. Some things you agree, some things you may not agree with. But for the most part, I resonated and I felt like whatever she said made a lot of sense. And I want Lisa to, this is the reason why, by the way, I invited her to today's live, because I really felt like her mentality and her ethics behind marriage was very strong. And not everybody has the ability to have such a strong mentality about the importance of staying through hard moments.
That's right.
Despite the challenges, we have to understand that our husband, our wife is a very crucial part of a relationship. And in order to make things work, you have to understand that concept first. Now, Liza, a lot of people know you. You don't need an introduction. A lot of people have watched you. You're amazing. You have so much talent. I see that you sing and you cook and you do hair. So bli ayin hara, you're a jack of all trades, as they say. So you really have a lot to offer. Not only that, your personality, it's like, it's just there. You come into the room and you wake everybody up. I love it. It's amazing. It's a great personality. So I'm very happy that you agreed to go live with me today. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. The second thing I want to tell you, Liza, when I called you today and I asked you to go live with me to discuss this topic about divorce and what should we do to maybe prevent divorce, and why is divorce happening so much in the community and everywhere, not just in the Bukharian community, it's everywhere. What was the first thing that entered your head at that moment?
Ты знаешь, в семье сейчас много недопонимания. Люди перестали с друг другом разговаривать. Вместо того, что свои проблемы куда-то прятать или бегать подружкам или там маме, папе или там соседу, рабаю рассказывать, не лучше ли посадить человека, своего родного? Муж и жена – это самые родные люди из всех, кто бы что ни говорил, да? Потому что в старости они остаются вместе, уже братья, сестры по своим семьям, родителей, к сожалению, уже нет. Дети вырастают, живут своими семьями. Кто самый близкий остается рядом с тобой? Это твоя жена и это твой муж. Ты знаешь, когда нету communication skills in between, из-за этого очень много разводов. Вот мне не нравится, какую рубашку мой муж сегодня одел, допустим. Я же не буду от него отворачиваться, с ним не разговаривать, ему обед не готовить, его носки не стирать. Я ему подойду и скажу: слушай, дорогой, одень красивую рубашку, тебе это не идет. Понимаешь, это уже начинается разговор. Завтра ему что-то не понравится. Люди должны между собой разговаривать, должны показывать проблемы, что их задевает. Ты знаешь, когда я выходила...
На одну секунду я тебя перебью, потому что как у меня пришла эта мысль. Ты правильно все говоришь. Но можно, кто-то сейчас это смотрит и слушает этот совет. Я не сказала, может быть, у тебя нет ответа на мой вопрос, но это просто вопрос ко мне пришел сейчас. И они говорят: а я моему мужу говорю, я моей жене тоже говорю. Мы говорим, мы высказываем, мы не держим в себе, но они не слушают. Что потом?
Значит, когда разговаривают, есть когда не просто разговаривают, а есть оскорбляют. Или там начинает, твоя мама такая, твой папа, так при чем здесь твоя мама, папа? Я разговариваю с тобой. Мне сейчас важно с тобой разговаривать, понимаешь, вот communication. Нельзя оскорблять, надо правильно все это доносить. Сейчас у нас в соцсетях открыта огромная психология, которую можно пойти и послушать, как правильно уметь мыслить, как правильно разговаривать. Не только женщинам, мужчинам тоже. You would be surprised, сколько мужчин сейчас смотрят и слушают психологию. Вот мне друзья иногда посылают разные вещи. Это очень хорошо. Если человек не ленивый, он должен уметь слушать это. Это важно, это для жизни. Раньше мы слушали бабушек, дедушек. Почему они нам все это говорили? Они жизнь прожили. А сейчас на этих бабушек, дедушек никто внимания не обращает. А, я сама знаю, я сама знаю. И что в итоге наша молодежь разводится?
Не
Правильно?
только поэтому. Наши бабушки, дедушки тоже стали очень модерные.
Да, вот это тоже еще
Они,
одна проблема.
они, они уже не как наши бабушки, дедушки,
Да, в
которые
то
пришли с
время.
Узбекистана, которые, знаешь, даже, можно сказать, держали семью вместе,
Да,
давали нас хат, как на бухарском говорят, да, показывали какой-то пример иногда. Сейчас даже наши бабушки, дедушки, уже
дедушки,
не
да.
молодые, они тоже по-своему поменялись. Они тоже по-своему имеют другой менталитет. И поэтому большая проблема, потому что мы не можем даже сейчас сказать, даже как будто посоветовать, вот бабушки, дедушки должны нас научить детей, наверное, там, своим внукам, правнукам, потому что уже меняются все.
Да.
В хорошую
Ну,
сторону тоже меняются. Это не то, что плохо. У нас сейчас мы учимся, что это не такого, что мужчина не должен это делать, женщина не должна это делать. Да, в хорошую сторону мы тоже меняемся. Мы больше помогаем друг другу, больше мы имеем роль. Но, с другой стороны, наш общий менталитет меняется.
да.
Правильно? Ты согласна с этим?
Я согласна. Очень многие бабушки, дедушки, я не буду бабушки, дедушка, я говорю родители, я буду говорить. Вместо вот, у меня один раз была такая серьезная проблема с мужем, я вот расскажу. Я так сильно разозлилась, я повернулась и ушла. Мне так было, знаешь, не это. Я пришла к маме домой. Она говорит, чуваунды, чу, ты что пришла сюда? Я говорю, все, я больше с ним жить не буду. Почему? Она меня выслушала. Она говорит, один вещь, я хочу пойти послушать, что он скажет. Не пойду
Вау.
я туда, что мне делать? Собрала вещи. У меня мама учитель была в Душанбе. Собрала вещи, пошли. Мы пошли. Она его выслушала, меня выслушала и стала говорить, ребята, хотите развестись? У вас ребенок есть. Вы сейчас о себе думаете, вы о ребенке не думаете. Полноценная семья, здоровый ребенок растет рядом с мамой и с папой. Хотите, я вас разведу? Смотри, говорит мужу моему, я ее заберу, ты больше ее никогда не увидишь. Ты этого хочешь? Смотри, Лиза, я сейчас тебя заберу, ты больше его никогда не увидишь. Ты этого хочешь? Ты сама хочешь этого ребенка расти? Ты понимаешь? Не знаю, что она сделала, но она заставила нас помириться. Потому что она видит, что мы друг к другу всегда хорошо относились. В жизни все бывает. Нельзя из-за одного скандала рубить семью. Правильный родитель сделает все, чтобы дети остались вместе. А сейчас что происходит? Он тебе так сказал, да, в Коное я тебе другого найду. Она так сказала, да, в Коное я тебе 10 жен найду. Зачем? Вы своих детей жените, они стоят перед купой, у них стоит сисит. Под сиситом они swear, как это будет по-русски, они клянутся перед Богом, что они будут вместе и в хорошее, и в плохое, что они друг друга никогда не бросят. Почему потом не успеют жениться 2-3 недели, развелись? А сколько эти свадьбы бешеные стоят? А сколько это все стоит? А сколько это нервы? А сколько... It's not easy.
So you see, yesterday I was at a wedding. And as the Khatan and Kala are coming out, I'm looking at the hall, right, to see the people, and so many people are crying. Now, they're not crying because they're sad. It's tears of this joy, like
Joy,
the
конечно.
beauty. Wow, look at this young couple. They love each other, and love in the air makes us so passionate. We start to cry. Look at the parents. They raised these children. Now these children are independent. They're on their own way. And you're looking at all this, and it's this beautiful sense of this peace, and this vibe is
Конечно,
amazing.
конечно.
So why am I telling you this? Because years later, we're married, we forget how it felt when we were going down the aisle.
That's right.
We forget why. Why did I want to marry her? But why did I want to marry him? But what made us come together? We forget what got us together to begin with. And we forget why it's important to stay together. When a person loses the why in something, for example, I don't want to go to work in the morning. I rather sleep. I don't want to work. Why? Because I want to sleep. I'm tired. I want to relax a little bit. I'm
Согласна.
exhausted. But I get up and I go to work because I have a why. Why do I go to work? Maybe because I'm bored. That's not my why. Maybe because I enjoy what I do. Yes, but that's not the only
Ага.
why. The why is I got to pay the bills.
That's right.
I need to support the family. So am I always going to love waking up in the morning and going to work and it's freezing cold outside and doing it? No. But I remember why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because if I don't go to work, I'm not getting paid. I can lose my job.
That's
I'm
right.
not going to pay my
Все
bills.
бывает в
And
жизни.
it goes from there on and on and on. Now, that doesn't mean that if a person is miserable, now we have to figure out what is miserably married, right? Everybody has their own miserably married. Now, we're not saying if you're miserably married, then you know what? Stay married because you have to. That's not what me and Liza are saying. Those are different cases. We're not talking about those individual, it's really minor cases. We made it like everybody's miserable. No. There's a minor serious cases. We're leaving that alone right now. We're talking about why should somebody stay married? Now, is marriage going to be so amazing all the time? No. Are you going to feel exhausted? If you're a husband, you're going to feel exhausted going to work,
It's not
making money,
easy.
coming home,
Да.
paying the bills. At the end of the day, you have to still, something breaks in the house. You have to make time to fix it, bring the shopping, take out the garbage. Same thing for a lady, the responsibility. She has kids, she has to cook, she has to shop. 100 responsibilities. Do we want to give up sometimes? Absolutely. Just like we don't want to go to work every day. But then we remember why. Why should I stick through? Why?
Ты
Maybe because
знаешь,
I have to remember, sorry,
no, it's okay.
what happened at the time of the chuppah?
Да.
Why did I go down with this person? Why? Why did I make children? What did we decide as husband and wife? We brought these children.
Да.
Now, from what do my children want? Does my child want a happy family? Does my child want my mom and dad?
Конечно.
What about when I have my children married off? Why am I not feeling that connection? Why is it so empty? Is it because the only reason I stayed all these years with my husband was for the sake of my children, that I don't even know who my husband is and now it feels empty? We forget to answer, why are
Why?
we in it to begin with? And when we do the why and we really focus on it, even the hard moments, we're going to start to figure out what's next. Now, how do I keep going through it and not give up? Just like I don't give up going to work. Yes, Lisa.
Я тебе расскажу еще одну историю про мою жизнь. Вот ты говоришь про тяжелые моменты в жизни. Одно время я стала очень
Sorry,
хорошо...
Salurova Olga. Yes, that's exactly why. Sorry, Lisa.
It's
Yes,
okay.
that's exactly why I just said. She said, "I'm all for working hard, moms, and keeping the family together. However, no one should tolerate abuse,
That's right.
whether physical or
100%.
mental." So let's not twist the words. We never said to tolerate abuse, and we never said anybody should tolerate miserable marriages, right? So that's 100% true. I'm glad you brought it up, Olga. Thank you for that comment. Please don't misinterpret what we're saying.
That's right.
Nobody needs to stay in a marriage that is abusive, that is
Правильно.
mentally abusive,
Physically
physically abusive,
abusive.
for sure
Да.
not. 100%. We're not talking about that at all. So today, let's take that situation completely out of the picture.
Правильно.
Go ahead,
Окей.
Lisa. Sorry.
Значит, такую историю скажу. Одно время я стала зарабатывать хорошие деньги. У меня помимо того, что я делаю волосы, парикмахерская, у меня и кейтеринг-джаб пошел, у меня еще другие. Знаешь, я стала хорошо зарабатывать. Я стала своему мужу показывать attitude, я стала его унижать, я стала его... Он, бедный, это все терпел. Пришел момент, когда я заболела. У меня признали рак груди. Мне пришлось пройти через операцию, через радиацию, через всякую фигню, да? Ты знаешь, я благодарна ему, что он выдержал все это. Я благодарна ему, что пока я болела, он работал. Он всегда работает, но он работал. Мало что он еще приходил, готовил. Мало что он еще смотрел за детьми. Ты понимаешь? И я заткнулась. Я поняла, что роднее его у меня нет. Он всегда в хорошие и плохие моменты со мной рядом. Сколько бы денег я ни зарабатывала. Вот сейчас идет такая эпидемия, где женщины больше зарабатывают, чем мужчины. И они теряют, как это сказать правильно, они теряют валы, что, я больше, чем ты зарабатываю, ты мне уже и не нужен, я и без тебя могу биллы заплатить, я и без тебя могу машину купить, я и без тебя на vacation могу поехать. Ты знаешь, один раз среди ночи что-то у меня вспыхнуло, пах! Я так испугалась. Как ты думаешь, что я сделала? Я разбудила мужа, иди посмотри, что там стало. А если бы я жила одна? А
Значит,
что бы было бы потом?
значит, but the good thing is, Lisa, to your point, which I have to say to your point, you have a good husband,
Да,
thank God.
да.
Но есть мужчины, даже есть женщины, and maybe some of them are watching, that when they see that there is the need to help, there is the need to be there for the husband or wife during
Помощь
those hard
всегда
moments,
нужна.
and
Помощь
they're not
всегда нужна.
stepping in, and they're not helping, and they're not saying, my wife is in this position or my husband is in this position. They're not doing that. So the next important thing to take into consideration is we need to keep ourselves educated. Just like we keep ourselves educated in how to perform our jobs at work, we constantly have to go to conferences and lectures. And if you're a hairstylist, you watch videos and what kind of haircuts are out there and what kind of tools are out there. You are looking at recipes. If you're a cook, how do you cook this food and that food? And you want to spice things up. Same thing in marriage. If a
Да,
person is not educating themselves and working on their character and going to lectures and going to seminars and reading books, and they're not going to know what do you do and how do you give in to someone else, and they become selfish. We're only living for myself. Well, she has to do for me. He has to do for me. And they don't know that love is not about what you're getting. Love is about what you're giving to somebody else. And real love only happens when you learn to give. Love is not when you're accepting, love is when you're giving. So I think, Lisa, to your point, that most people that are in this situation where they feel like they want that out is because they really feel like that husband or that wife is not there for them emotionally or physically or spiritually, and they feel exhausted.
да,
And when a person feels exhausted, the only solution they see is, I want out. I'm exhausted. So we have to bring awareness. Yes, you're going to get out. Like Lisa said, yeah, you're going to get out. But is it going to be easier? Are things going
not at
to be
all.
easier? Now, you got out of this situation. For the time being, it's a relief, 100%. It feels like I got the relief I wanted, 100%. But then other hardships are going to come that are also going to be exhausting. So all of us as a community, ourselves, me, you, rather than saying, how do I get out? I'm exhausted. True, you're exhausted. I'm exhausted. I run around.
Конечно, мы все
Sometimes I feel like I
устаем.
can't take it anymore. I'm exhausted. Help.
Same thing.
But we have to stop and say, so what should we do to not feel this way? Maybe we're burned out as a husband and wife. Maybe we need to go on a vacation. We're so exhausted. And yes, it's tight financially. And we don't think we have the means. But at the end of the day, you rather borrow money and go and relax and communicate and reignite yourself so you have energy than both of you are miserable and exhausted. Maybe it's time to go to a workshop. Maybe it's time to go to a therapist. Maybe it's time to go to a marriage counselor. When things seem exhausting and it's almost like my only solution is a way out, stop and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way?
That's right.
Is there anything left to do for me to feel less exhausted so I can think clearly? Because when we are exhausted, we don't think clearly. We
No.
don't rationalize.
When
We don't even care about the consequence. If somebody says, what do you mean? It's going to be harder. We're like, I don't really care because we're so tired. We don't even want advice from people. So, Liza, what would you say is a tip for somebody? Let's say I'm going to go, we spoke about the husbands helping and everything and how important it is. Now for the wife. A wife sees that a husband is coming home very tired and he's very, very exhausted. He has a very high demanding job. And maybe she doesn't work, okay? We're not going to use an example of somebody who works. She doesn't work and she takes care of the kids. And some men think that's an easy job. It's a very
it's not
hard
an
job.
easy job.
I'd rather work
That's
than be
right.
home. Okay, it's a very hard job. Now, she's home, he comes in, he's tired, and she wants him to help. But his response is, well, why do you want me to help? You were home all day. Why couldn't you have done this before I got home? You know I want to rest. But her definition of feeling loved by her husband is when he does something for her, she feels loved. And here's a man who feels like, if you love me, you shouldn't be asking me anything because I'm tired and you should respect the fact that I'm tired. And now there's a miscommunication because her definition of feeling loved is help me because that shows me you care about me. And his communication of love is leave me alone because I'm tired and that shows that you care about me. So there's a mismatch.
Ты,
What would you say to a couple like that?
Ты знаешь, вот 7 дней в неделю, из них 5 дней я встаю в 6 утра, я отправляю 3 детей в школу, я кормлю, там потом завтрак мужу делаю, сама готовлю, да. Я за 5 дней, я устаю. Я не работаю full time, как мой муж, но я все равно, да, вот как ты сказала, с детьми туда-сюда. So on Mondays we have the same day off. Он делает свои дела, я оставляю ему детей, я иду отдыхаю. Я иду в спа, я иду на массаж, я иду маникюр делаю. Знаешь, вот один день я посвящаю себе. У меня голова отдыхает от всего, он с детьми, вот, понимаешь, один день off дайте жене, побудьте со своими детьми. Здесь ничего страшного нету. Get to know your children. Start speaking to them, especially when they're teenagers. I have a teenager. Oh my God, how much I need men to speak to him. I cannot already speak to him. Он может мне врезать уже, он такой здоровый, высокий. Понимаешь, уже мужчина должен step in, забрать это и воспитывать ребенка дальше. Все, что как я могла, я мать уже сделала, понимаешь? И когда вот у тебя будет этот день посвятишь для себя, твой муж должен это понять. Вот на выходной его, пусть он сидит с детьми, пусть он их развлекает, пусть он их со школы встречает, пусть он их кормит, да? Вот тогда будет balance in the family. А
Exactly.
когда приходит муж, у меня муж очень уставший приходит домой, он даже собаку не может вывести гулять, он говорит, я не могу, я устал. Понимаешь, я понимаю его, я его накормлю, я ему все, чай поставлю, все как надо сделать. Знаешь, a good wife, that's, you don't have to, but this is how I do it. И он это все понимает. Но когда у меня прошу его, Альберт, встань сегодня, я не могу, я всю ночь не спала. Он встанет, он знает, что он будет весь день тяжело работать, он все равно встанет, он это сделает. Вы должны друг другу communicate, как я вначале сказала. Вы должны общаться, вы должны друг другу помогать, вы должны быть друзьями. Before a love, это все BS. Друзья, communication, love. Если вы друг другу будете уступать, у вас все будет в жизни, все.
Also, that's amazing what you said. Also, to add to that, some people have it easier than others. Например,
Да,
есть люди, ты попросишь что-то ему сделать, да, вот ты можешь пойти забрать, например, мою маму с магазина, да, вот ты сказал своему мужу или своей жене, он скажет, да, конечно, я пойду, потому что he doesn't mind,
да,
okay, the personality that this person has, he doesn't mind, it's easy for him, that's his personality, no problem. The next day, he's going to say the same thing to his wife. Can you go pick up my dad? He's in the yeshiva, for example. And she may say, I really can't. And now it's almost like you asked me yesterday and I did it. I'm asking you today, why can't you do it? You have to know the person you are married to.
да,
What is their personality? What are they able to do? And if you know that your wife or your husband doesn't enjoy that particular thing that you're going to ask because you know each other, you've been married, you have to get to know each other before marriage. Why are you testing each other, knowing it's going to lead to an argument because
that's
she's
right.
not going to do it or he's not going to do it? And then it's going to be a debate that you see, you don't do for me and I do for you, and you don't invite my parents and I invite your parents. It's like children. We know our children. We know which child is going to bring us a cup of water. So we're most likely going to speak to
That's
the
right.
child who's going to do it. And then the next child we know, he's good at something else because we know our children. We know their strengths. We know their weaknesses. Same thing with your spouse. When you know each other and you understand what each of you are good at, what skills do you have, okay, what kind? Somebody's an organizer. Somebody else may be a creative person. Somebody else may be something else. Communicate with the spouse based on what he's able to do for you.
That's
If he's not able to do it, for example, you want him to cook for you because there are men that cook, but your husband, for example, doesn't cook because for him cooking is like the worst thing you can ask him, but he knows how to build. So why are you going to test him and say, well, tonight I'm not cooking. When I come home, please make dinner. And then he doesn't make the dinner. You come home and you're like, you don't do it. I do it. But you know he doesn't cook dinner. It's
doesn't
not his
cook. Зачем
thing.
ты его
You
заставлять?
know it
Правильно.
already. You rather buy dinner, but don't test each other when you know that there's a certain thing that your husband or your wife is not going to do. They don't enjoy it. They hate it. Don't test them to the point where there's going to be arguments.
That's right.
Ask them things because every one of us knows that they're good at. Let them do that for you. And when they don't do that, then you can have a conversation and say, you see, but why didn't you do this? Because they can't argue anymore because that's a skill that they know that they're good at and they're not doing it. So I think that's important, потому что я как вижу по себе, например, мне, like, example for me. Why did I use that particular example? Like for my husband, it's really not a problem. If I right now at 12 o'clock in the morning say, oh my God, I forgot something. Are you able to go to this and this place and take it? His personality, he's going to do it because
Да,
he
мой
doesn't mind it.
тоже.
I
Правильно.
would be like, oh my God, it's so late, but why do I have to do it? Can I just wait till tomorrow? Because for me, it's like the biggest drag. Same thing with me. He knows for me, I can go on the computer very quickly and I can do a document very quickly. My skill set is different. So we have to know our spouse's skill sets because if you don't, and you're going to compare your spouse, your husband or your wife to somebody else, which happens a lot because we are in a world where everything is exposed, right? We are in a social media world. You might even hear me and Liza talking right now, and then you may see, you see, how come when I was sick you didn't help me and her husband helped her? That can
Exactly.
happen because you're
Exactly.
listening to this conversation. And then what? It's going to lead to an argument. So in a world of social media where everybody is exposed and you see your friend going on a vacation and then you say to your husband, look, her husband takes her on vacation every other day. You didn't take me 10 years to vacation, and an argument starts. But you don't know their financial situation. You don't know what they do for a living. You don't know how many days of vacation they have and what permits them and what age. Do they have a nanny? Do they have a baby, like their mother watching the kids? There's so many things around everybody's personal relationship that they're not exposing to you. And then you compare yourself to somebody else thinking, well, that's what a good marriage looks like. They look happy. So that means my marriage needs to look like that for me to be happy. Or when you see a couple walking outside, no offense to those couples that walk outside like that, but when you see them walking outside hand in hand and it looks like they're in love,
Exactly.
great. It may appear And yes, there are some people who walk hand in hand that really are in love. So I'm not saying you're not in love, but it may appear to you that they're so in love, they're walking, and my husband never touches me. My wife always goes like this when I touch her hand. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you, and that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. That doesn't necessarily mean love.
Никто
That's
не знает, что такое любовь. Никто. Люди думают, от хорошего секса это любовь. Нет. Если люди там, допустим, покупают expensive подарки, это не любовь. Вы не знаете, что такое любовь, пока вы не попадете в самую тяжелую ситуацию. И когда вы увидите, что ваш second half, что для вас в этой ситуации делает. И только тогда вы понимаете, что такое настоящая любовь.
100%.
Понимаешь? Люди думают, что любовь это feelings, это там за ручки держаться, это там showing off, это там подарки, это все фигня. Любовь это когда в самые тяжелые моменты в вашей жизни ваш человек рядом с вами. И он сделает все, чтобы вам было хорошо. Не только жене, и жена мужа, и муж жене. Вот это и есть любовь. А все остальное это бес, это много соблазна, много вот это вот ужас, что сейчас творится.
You know, go ahead.
Но просто люди забываются, что самое главное, the value of the family, selfishness. Почему у людей selfishness? Потому что очень много мамаши разводятся и живут с детьми, одни вырастают. Конечно, эти дети будут selfish. A normal, healthy family, как я вначале говорила, должно быть мама и папа. И они вдвоем должны учить ребенка, что хорошо, что плохо, что можно, что нельзя. How to share things, how not to share things. Тогда ребенок не будет вырастать selfish. И жениться потом и говорить жене, сделай то, я ничего делать не буду. Это все идет от семьи. Ты знаешь, я недавно начала matchmaking. Не сколько matchmaking, I try to get people together to help the community. Ты знаешь, меня пацаны какие вопросы спрашивают? А это девочки и родители вместе? Я говорю, нет. О, это намешо, я не хочу эти проблемы. Они уже знают, что этот ребенок вырос неполноценно. Они так считают. Ты понимаешь?
Они не знают, что есть, которые married and so miserably married that they would fight all day long. Такое тоже есть, you know. It's so hard and so unfair if somebody does come from a divorced family. It's so unfair. It's not their fault that happened, you know. So as you're talking, you know what else I remember, как ты сказала, as you were talking, humbleness, да, with the people that are getting married, вот свадьбы, которые сейчас идут, the молодежь. If they only started their life humble, simple white dress, simple flowers, simple decor, simple table. If everything started so simple, they would appreciate such simple things in life. That's simple. They wouldn't even have such expectations. If their husband brought them home one rose, and said, here, this is for you. Wow, she's so amazed. He brought me a rose. Oh, she's crying. Now, he could bring her a car. She's not going to say, you got me a car. Say, what kind of car? What kind of car did you get me? Что за машина такая? Понимаешь, уже сейчас impressing and giving gifts became so difficult, потому что мы начинаем with such wow beginnings and so much grandiosity, что simple things are not making us happy anymore.
Я еще, знаешь, что хочу bring out a subject just into this. Вот очень многие девушки молодые хотят educated guy. Окей. Я вот очень хочу про это сказать. Educated guys, когда получают хорошее образование, у них по 250 тысяч лоуны, чтобы вы знали это, да? 250 тысяч loans. Им до 35 лет надо пахать, чтобы только освободиться какой-то частью лона, чтобы собрать деньги на свадьбу и создать семью. Но когда им встает уже 35-38 лет, уже эти 22-25-летние девочки их не хотят. They're too old for them. Правильно? People concentrate education. У нас в Самарканде, в Ташкенте, в Таджикистане, там, в Душанбе, там, в любых других городах, в Фергана, whatever, it doesn't matter. Кто хорошо жил? Доктора? Лоера? Кто хорошо жил? Учителя? Кто? Парикмахеры, сапожники, селсмен, мясники и там еще подобное. Вот эти люди там жили, потому что у них всегда они могли заработать. Купи-продай, или там сотвори-продай, или там еще что-то. Так же, как и здесь. Why you so concentrate on educated guy? 38 лет мальчику недавно, мама мне говорит, ой, мой сын 38 лет, но он не умеет разговаривать, but he's very educated, he's a doctor. Я за него буду говорить. Как понять, вы за него будете говорить? В постель тоже вы с ним ляжете? Это команд. Но я что хочу сказать, вот because these people are so into education, they don't have communication
I'll tell
skills.
you why.
And
I'll tell you
because
why.
of that, они не
Я,
могут тоже жениться.
я тебе объясню почему. Есть two sides to this story.
Да.
I agree with you, but there's two sides. I don't have a husband who is educated.
Same,
He's a
same.
barber,
Да.
okay?
Да,
I
me
am
too.
educated, okay?
Okay.
So I agree with you. I didn't look for my husband, but then again, I got married before I got educated. So it's not fair if I said I wouldn't look for educated. But my point is, you're right. I'm so happy that my husband is a barber. Why? Because for me, he could be the best doctor. And I'm not saying doctors are not good people. I'm not saying that. But for me, if he's a good father, a good husband, somebody who has respect, somebody who has derech eretz, that to me is the greatest gift in the world, regardless of his
That's
profession.
right.
Okay? So be educated, have an education, but also have like good personality.
Самое главное,
But you
сними
not that
ничего.
educated, there's a few reasons. Number one, they want to make sure he's financially stable. That's number one. They feel like if he doesn't have an education, is he financially stable? Number two, я сейчас, у меня есть друзья, которые разведенные, not by choice, it happened, like, whether their spouse had some cheating issues or some abuse issues, whatever it is, they got divorced, and now they want to get remarried. Beautiful girls, right? They want to get remarried. Они мне рассказывают, Лиза, они говорят, я выхожу, because I tell them, don't look for education. Yes, you may have education or this, that. Don't look, go out with simple, doesn't have to have education. Они говорят, когда они выходят with the people that are not educated, let's say, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody, okay? I'm only telling you what I hear.
Да, да.
There's nothing to talk about. There's no intelligence there, okay? I'm not saying that people who are not educated are not intelligent, but they don't have the emotional intelligence to keep a conversation with somebody who does, потому что they are on different platforms, on different levels. То, что уже женщина, которая уже в возрасте, right? And she already has a career, and she has a profession, and she carries herself, or the other way around. The guy has a career, he has a profession, he goes to work, let's say he's a lawyer, right? And he's a certain class. And then he gets married to a girl that's not on that level. He comes home, it's almost like they are bored. They really are bored. There's nothing to discuss here. This is important that they have to match, okay? So for some people, that is a very important thing to look at. For some people. Потому что if they don't, and they say, okay, you know what, I'm going to just give it a shot. I'll marry, let's say, a barber or a shoemaker or a caterer, no problem. But she's a doctor, let's say, or she's a lawyer. And then she comes home and they are on such different wavelengths, their conversations and her interests and her lifestyle, manners, everything is so different. They don't last. They don't last because they're not compatible with each other. So compatibility is very important. Not necessarily how educated or smart, but also how compatible. If you're educated, but you can also sit at the same table and have friends, like my friends, for example, right? I'm a PA. My friends are not all PAs. My people who I work with are PAs. People who I don't work with, they're not PAs. They're very simple people. Because for example, I could connect. I can have a conversation. I'm able to connect with them. But there are some people that can sit at the same table that cannot. They literally can only talk to people who are on the same educational platform as themselves. They're not bad people. It's just the way they are. And then there's nothing to talk about. So when the husband comes home or the wife comes home and they want to have a conversation, they have nothing to talk about because compatibility is not the same.
А вот у меня история совсем по-другому. Люди наоборот, вот когда замуж выходят за educated в этот, oh, he's in the computer all day, he doesn't have nothing to say to me, I'm so bored, I want to go out to a fancy
Exactly.
restaurant. Понимаешь, fancy restaurants и fancy это надо иметь человека, который не просто, я не говорю, что not educated, но он должен быть тоже как бизнесмен, чтобы все твои эти потребности аффордать, понимаешь? Люди не понимают это, они думают, there's tons of loans that these kids have to pay before they get married. И потом у них это время все уходит. У женщин уходит детородное время, чтобы рожать, а у мужчин уходит время, чтобы создать семью, потому что they have to finish paying their bills, their loans. Вот как им всем get married? It's such a, знаешь, это очень тяжелая тема, это очень тяжело этим людям соединиться из-за этого, потому что они не
Потому что they're
понимают.
getting married. No, loans is okay. It's a normal process. Потому что this is the, unfortunately, college system became like that. So, you make a certain amount, you're not eligible for college. I still feel like it's not a reason not to go to college. You work, you pay it off. Now, let's say she or he marries a husband or wife that они думают, listen, all my life I have to now pay for your loans. У них будут arguments, потому что он скажет, мне твои loans не нужны были. That's why it's important, before you get yourself married to this person, be open, be upfront. You have to share certain things, потому что if you don't share even something as silly or stupid as this, you see, for some people, that's going to be a deal breaker, because he's going to say, well, why do I need this extra bill every time, every month we have to pay for your loans? Good. Before you get married, because now we see situations that come up, you need to say, this is, I went to school, I have loans. Yes, you're going to be with a husband or wife who's educated, but it comes with a price. I have to pay the bills for the education I got. And you have to have a mutual understanding, and not during your marriage constantly throw at their face, oh, why do I have to pay for your bill? Or why do I have to pay for your bill? Because that's what you got yourself into. You want an educated husband? You want an educated wife? You want a lawyer? You want a doctor? You want somebody in business, finance, whatever it is? It takes a price. Accept the price. You can't have everything. Oh, I want education. I want a rich life. I want this. I want that. But I'm not willing to pay for it. I'm not willing to sacrifice. And that's the mentality that people don't want to change. They want everything, but they don't want to sacrifice. They don't want to sacrifice themselves. They don't want to sacrifice their own time. They don't want to sacrifice not going on vacation for a few years until these loans are paid off, until your husband or wife finishes school. They don't want to sacrifice, but they want to have everything around what's available for them. And this is what needs to be changed.
Жизнь дается в начале или мужчине с работой, или женщине, да? И у них должен быть mutual balance, чтобы потом уже, знаешь, допустим, мужчина не выучился, потом выучился, женщина не выучилась, потом выучилась, да? Но не всегда дается все сразу. Но у нас сейчас такое время, все хотят все, и хотят все сразу, чтобы было.
Правильно.
Никто не хочет постепенно. Куда вы торопитесь жить? Дайте время друг другу, притеритесь друг к другу, помогайте друг другу. Но почему вы все хотите сразу? Все сразу не бывает. Слушайте, мы когда поженились, у нас $200 было на руках. После всех расходов свадебных, и квартира, и мебель, $200 в руках у нас было. Но ничего, по этих 20 лет прошло, слава богу, 3 детей. Это берет время, не сразу все появляется в жизни. Не думайте, что вы выходите замуж, и завтра все у вас будет. Нет, все сразу не дается. Так же, как и мужчинам. Вы не думайте, что вы нашли богатенькую семью, или там educated girls, вы женитесь, вы будете в шоколаде. No! If you're a man, you're supposed to provide. Even if you provide less than a woman, you're supposed to provide. You cannot be lazy, you cannot be selfish. If you don't want to lose your title as a man in the house, act like a man.
And if you're a lady that provides, don't sit there constantly упрекать your husband, что я приношу деньги, а сколько ты приносишь, а я имею свой счет, и ты имеешь свой счет, и я дам свои деньги. Do what works for you. but don't act like, when you start acting a certain way, like you're not dependent on him and you're not dependent on her, when you already bring this topic into your life, you're already setting yourself up for failure. When you come into to conversations with these words of, oh, I don't need you, or I don't need you, or look how much I bring, look how much I bring. So where is this going to be mutual understanding, mutual connection, emotional intimacy? Where is it going to be? You're not
Мое
going to have
твое.
it because you're
Мое твое.
constantly pressuring each other about how you don't need each other, how you're capable without each other, and that's a mistake. So I have to say, yes, I'm a woman. I'm a woman, so I'm going to talk. I'm not saying all women do this, but I 100% do not agree when a woman works and she makes more than her husband. I don't agree that she should hold it against him. I don't agree. Why? God gave you the ability to provide. He's giving the money for your family through you. You are the vessel that God is providing your family through you. You cannot belittle your husband and constantly degrade him saying, well, what do you bring to the table? It's not fair. Unless the husband is absolutely not putting effort and he's sitting there 24 hours quitting every other job. And yes, there's other issues. We're not talking about those issues. But in the overall, so your husband struggles. So he hasn't really been able to get a job that pays so much. But you are. We have to learn to stop putting each other down, to stop acting superior to one another, to stop constantly showing I do this and you don't do this, because it's not going to bring you any happiness. It's going to make you always bitter. And
Правильно.
what good is that? It's not good. It's a very, very horrible feeling to come home every night and not feel like like your home should be a place where you want to go home to. You want it. You should be like, at the end of the day, you want to come to your house. But if there's men that are constantly screaming, which woman wants to come home to such a house?
Конечно.
Or you're coming home and there's a woman that's constantly da 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 da. Which man wants to come to the house? It becomes like you're not in a safe space anymore, and you don't know how to escape. And you're a good husband and you're a good wife, but if you don't work on yourself and you don't understand your life through your husband's life, or you're not understanding through their lens, like how are they feeling constantly? They come home and you're constantly bitter, screaming, screaming, screaming. Would you want something like that done to you? So we all, me, you, everybody who's watching, we all need to work on our characters.
Правильно.
Because if we don't work on our characters and we don't work on ourselves, don't expect anybody to change. We have to start from us. We have to change first. We have to work on ourselves, on our characters, and then slowly we're going to see so much improvement in our relationships.
100%.
Лизочка, пожалуйста, почитай комментарий,
Комментарии
потому
почитать.
что уже мы закруглять уже будем
А,
скоро. Я вижу там очень много комментариев. Нам эта тема так нравится, мы можем всю ночь говорить.
не говори сейчас. А, а, так, это ты читала. Marriage is time and effort needed to put from both sides of the couple. Some men think think work stop when they marry their wife. You have it high. The problem today, women became men and men became men. Everything has changed.
Интересно.
That major issue became.
Значит, он говорит, что женщина стала мужиком, а мужчина стал женщиной, что ли?
Женщиной, да.
Ага. Ты
Есть такое
согласна?
тоже. Есть такое тоже. Есть. Есть такие мужчины, потому что они растут в семье, где все для них делают. И мамы, и папы, и они, понимаешь, в ребенка нужно с самого детства вкладываться, чтобы этот ребенок мог потом уже вкладываться в свою семью. Но если ты все за ребенка делаешь, конечно, он ничего не будет делать. Он будет как женщина себя вести. Ой, принеси, ой, подай, ой. Это ты понимаешь? И работать, и все самим делать. Да, я согласна. И такое тоже есть. А что еще здесь? Разводов много, потому что друг друга не хотят выслушать. Правильно. Нет взаимопонимания. Это то, что я говорила в самом начале.
Ты знаешь, ты по-другому сказала, что их так вырастили. А я думаю, это кто там пишет вот эти вещи, я думаю, я не знаю, that's what you said about man becoming a woman becoming man. I think it's from the perspective. Вот мужчина зашел домой, и жена ему, например, идет и говорит, окей, я сейчас должна пойти поспать, иди посуду помой, иди там подмети, мусор выкини, я через полчаса вниз приду. Again, it's good, help. But роли меняются, понимаешь?
Есть
Она уже
такое, да.
стала как мужчина дома, а он стал как женщина. Она ему говорит, like, do this, okay, do it. But also understand, no matter how much we are living in a society where we should be equal, everybody is equal, we're not equal. In which sense? We're equal in the sense that we all need respect, mutual respect. That's yes. But not equal in the sense of a husband is still has to be treated as a husband of the house where he's superior in which way? Not that he's superior to you where he can boss you around and do whatever, not that. Superior where the children understand he's the man of the house and they need to fear him from love. He's a man. He's the one that my mom and us, we have to respect him in that way. But when we put the husband down where we think our roles are equal, and there's, let's say, for example, there's guests in the house, and женщина сидит и там что-то делает, а мужчина пойдет наверх, там, help. But all of a sudden, he becomes the woman of the house. The roles are changing. He has to get up and she has to be sitting. It's not, I don't think it's respectful. If it happens once in a while, once in a blue moon, these things happen. Yes, no problem. But if it became where you're building a life like that, that change, the roles are changing and the children are watching this tomorrow. And what example are they going to get when they get married? What example is a girl going to get when she gets married? She's going to think this is the way it's supposed to be. And then she's going to act like her husband has to be just like her mother and father were. And it's not going to be a good marriage. We're not showing the children what is a husband, what is a wife. And if we're not showing that to our children, when they get married, we cannot be surprised when they have problems because they learned wrong values. A husband is a husband. There is a certain level of respect. Not that he has to be in control. No. A wife is still a wife. And that's important to differentiate.
Есть женщины, которые превращают своих мужчин в тряпки, а потом не могут с ними жить. Они сами этого делают, а потом не могут с этим мужиком. Они уже на него не смотрят, как на мужика. Они уже смотрят на него, как на тряпку. Понимаешь? Потому что demand, do. И все, мужчина уже потерялся, он уже вчера закрыл голову, думает, ладно, лучше я сделаю, чтобы только не выслушивать. Правильно? Вот. Так. Marriage is a commitment, two people with their own values, upbringing, different characters и так далее. Так. Are deciding to live under same roof. They slowly learn to live with each other when there'll be mutual understanding, respect and help towards each other. Then good and normal marriage will be built. Так, все правильно.
Вопросы
Так, что еще здесь?
вообще какие-то есть?
Сейчас посмотрим. There's a great book that every woman should read. The Empowered Wife by Laura Dole will definitely change your perspective on marriage.
Ага.
Надо
Вот Милана написала, women can be as bold and as rich as they want, but as soon as they step into their house, the title needs to be changed to wife and mom. Exactly. That's 100% well said. And that's not meant to be a negative thing. We should be loving the fact that we're wives and moms.
It's been experienced that modern men aren't seen as human beings. They're seen as human doings. Don't be shocked if you're single, well into your 30s, and your favorite phrase is, well, what have you done for me lately?
Ага, interesting. Надо правильно поддерживать друг друга всегда. И никогда не унижать друг друга. Рошель Нигудаев. Очень правильно.
Love what you're saying, girls, especially how Liza said you should be best friends. You should be best friends. Так, надо все делать вместе, работать и отдыхать. Ты знаешь, насчет отдыха, иногда мой муж, когда не может поехать, Я беру детей, беру маму, и мы едем. Один раз я с ним только еду, без детей, чтобы я и он отдохнули. А один раз бывает, что мы вместе едем, а один раз бывает, что я с детьми, с мамой еду, я ему даю отдохнуть. Понимаешь, иногда от друг друга тоже отдых нужен.
See, that works for your family's
Да,
dynamic. We all have to
да.
figure out what works for
What
us.
works, да.
Maybe it will work for somebody else. That's what works for Liza.
Мой муж говорит, ты меня оставишь с собакой? Я говорю, да, не хочешь? Не, иди, оставь меня с собакой, я отдохну.
That's funny. Oh my
People need
God.
to look in their own relationship and stop comparing. Appreciate and love each other. This is so true. Ты знаешь, бывают соседи, которые бухарские, да, допустим, рядом живут, и она начинает, вот ты знаешь, он жене вот это сделал, он жене вот это подарил, он жене вот туда забрал на викеш, а ты когда меня заберешь? Ты должна сначала смотреть в свой карман. Ты должна посмотреть на свою ситуацию в доме,
Вот.
на какие у тебя есть расходы, кому ты, допустим, деньги должна, или там кому-то. Это все берет время. Как я говорила, ничего сразу не бывает. Don't compare yourself to other families.
А есть,
It's
которые идут на vacation, придут домой and still feel miserable.
still
You know
feel
why?
miserable.
Потому
Есть
что
такое.
they're not inner happiness нету. They're not healed. They're not, a person sometimes feels, if you buy me this, if you take me here, if you do this, if you do that, I'm going to be happy. Happiness starts inside of us, all of us.
Правильно.
You want to be happy, you have to work inside of yourself emotionally. Because if you're genuinely happy, smallest thing, you just went out to the restaurant, you just went out to the spa, you went to do your nails, you went with your buddies to play basketball, not necessarily go to something fancy schmancy away to Bahamas. You're going to be
Правильно.
happy. Why? Because you build inside of you this emotional happiness that the smallest things is enough for you.
Мне один раз понравилось, как мои двоюродные брат и сестра, they're not related to me, but they're both related to me, but not to each other. From my mom's side, my father's side, whatever. They met in my wedding, they got married. И один раз был Valentine's Day, и он совсем у него с головы вышло, что Valentine's Day. И он пришел к ней и говорит, ты знаешь, я, говорит, даже тебе шоколад не купил. I'm so sorry. Она говорит, ты знаешь, ты вот хотя бы обо мне подумал. Мне уже это важно. Даже если бы ты мне вот такую маленькую шоколадочку дал, я была бы рада. И вдруг он с кармана вытаскивает маленький dark chocolate.
Cute.
But
So
ты
cute.
понимаешь, он даже если не купил, он подумал о тебе. Уже хорошо. Это же так приятно человеку.
It's true. Вопрос, есть такая фраза.
Так,
Женщина строит семью.
семью, и женщина разрушает семью. Вы согласны с этим, да?
Я
Конечно.
согласна. Я
Конечно.
согласна. Конечно, есть ситуации, когда, опять, мы согласны in the most common situations, yes, most common. But there are situations when the man wasn't raised properly sometimes by his parents or by whoever,
Правильно.
okay? They didn't raise him properly.
Все от
And
семьи идет.
женщина все делает. No matter how much she does, because he's not raised properly or whatever mentality he has, maybe he was raised properly, but as a person, character, he never worked on himself, he can destroy his life also. So for the most part, да. Потому что женщина шея, а мужчина голова, and whichever way she's gonna move, he's gonna go. You respect him, he respects her. So that's overall. But эта фраза иногда не 100% accurate, because if she does everything and the man is not grateful or he's not helping, not contributing, no, lady, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can tolerate, okay? You can do the best you can, but there's so much you can tolerate. And if he's constantly not changing, or she's constantly not changing year after year after year, how much can you tolerate? You have to go see therapy. And Liza, before I forget, this is very important. I was going to say this. Thank God I remembered. About therapists.
Да.
Okay? Я послушала недавно, я не забыла этого раба и имя на Инстаграме. Я с ним согласна 100%. Он сказал так, about therapy. Therapy is very important. It's crucial.
Especially in this world we're living now.
But, there's a but. There's a but. When it comes to people in a marriage, they go to therapy. A therapist can never tell you to stay married or to get divorced, okay? They're not going to tell you, they're not allowed to tell you. Now, if you're going to the therapist thinking, what is he going to recommend? And you're listening to whatever he says and you're trying to help yourself get clues. Should you leave your husband? Should you leave your wife? You're going to be in a dangerous position if you go to the therapist. That I'm going to tell you. You have to go to a therapist with the thought of, I want to stay
Stay
in
in
my
marriage.
marriage.
Правильно.
That's already why I'm going. I want to stay. If that's what you want to do, I want to stay. And you have to communicate with the therapist. I want therapy for you to help me because I really want to stay. Again, we're not talking about abusive marriages or emotional abuse, not that. I want to stay in my marriage. Help me so that we can work things together.
Точно.
Then the therapist can help guide you. But when you don't do that, like I was listening to this person's podcast, да, я смотрю, и один мужчина звонит, и мне так его стало жалко, он говорит этому рабаю, который держит подкаст, он говорит, Rabbi, I need your help. My wife went to a therapist, and I'm not saying therapy is bad, but this is why I'm saying this is so important. My wife went to a therapist, она рассказала, они пошли отдельно, он пошел своему, она пошла своему, она рассказала ему, мой муж такой, мои дети такие, и этот терапевт надоумил ей, что пока ты своего мужа от него не отойдешь, your kids and you are not going to be able to be healed. So he put that in her mind, okay, I don't know, that's what I'm listening on this podcast. И этот мужчина теперь звонит этому рабаю, и он говорит, Rabbi, он очень любит свою жену, видно, он говорит, I really want to make things work with my wife, but she wants a divorce because the therapist put in her brain, instilled in her, that the only way out of your situation is your husband has to come out of the picture, or you and your kids, there's going to be no solution for this. How can I do it, on говорит Рабаю, that I can get her back to giving me a second chance? I want to make things work. And the rabbi said to him, you may be doing yourself a favor if you walk out, because it looks like her mind is set based on what you're
Уже в
saying.
голове,
Уже
да, уже ничего не
в голове
поменяешь.
застряло. Now be
Уже всё.
careful. Therapy is very important and it has to be done in order to save a lot of marriages. It has to be done. But you need to know who you're going to, what kind of mentality does therapist have, what kind of cultural values they have, and what are you looking to get? Because if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes there can be more bad also that instead of good. So keep that in mind.
А ты знаешь, кому наши бухарские ходят вместо пойти в терапию? Ты знаешь, кому они ходят?
Гадалкам.
Во, молодец! Они думают, что это им поможет.
That's another topic.
That's another topic one day we'll talk about.
That's another topic. Yeah, that's another topic. Whoever's watching, it's late, and I see still a lot of people watching. Let us know. Did you like today's live? Did you enjoy it? Did you find it to be interesting, helpful? I would like to hear your thoughts, and it's okay if you didn't like it. Listen, I'm asking a question, so
С вами
I'm willing to hear.
разговаривали самые мощные женщины Нью-Йорка.
So that's okay if you don't like it. It is what it is. So let us know what your comments, your thoughts. And I'm very happy that Lizachka, that you didn't say no when I called you, that you were willing to do this. It was such a pleasure. You know, this live was like so interesting and we had so much to discuss. I loved it. I could really do another 2 hours of this because this is how, interesting this is going. But because of time restraints, it's late. We have to, everybody go to sleep. We have to go out also to sleep. I want to do another live with you, Liza. We should really pick another topic because I really enjoy this. I think you and I can connect.
Мы с тобой хотим помочь, понимаешь? Мало кто, все могут болтать, а помочь никто не хочет, понимаешь? Поэтому у нас с тобой это хорошо идет, потому что мы хотим людям помочь. И чем больше таких, как мы, тогда в мире не будет проблем.
Одна нас смотрит с Израиля. Diana, thank you so much. She said it's 5:30 in the morning in Israel.
Бедная.
And she's watching us. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Really nice. If you find this to be helpful and you want to share it, feel free to share it. Remember, there are some of you that are going to be watching this live tomorrow, the day after. comment, ask questions. Sometimes we answer some comments, sometimes we don't, but we read every single comment. So if we don't answer you, we're not ignoring you. It's just very overwhelming with so many comments to answer every single one of you. But I personally enjoy everybody's comments, feedbacks, and everything.
Yes.
So thank you all so much for tuning in.
Спасибо,
Lisa, we should
David.
wait for another topic for part 2. So if you have another suggestion for Lisa,
Прогадалки.
I'm going to stay away from that one. If you have another topic suggestion, keep it coming. Like I said today, I got a call. This really felt like, wow, I really want to. By the way, I don't do this with everybody. A lot of people call me, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? Иногда это тяжело, люди не понимают, and they get offended, да? Can you talk about this and this topic? And I say I can't. It's not because you have to understand when we go live, let's say I called Liza. I specifically called Liza because I know she's going to be passionate about this topic. A person has to be passionate about something for them to talk about it.
Because we
If
cannot
there's no,
judge
не
anyone, we
можете просто
cannot.
встать и просто на как любую тему разговаривать, потому что you're not gonna, as a viewer, you're going to know when somebody's just talking to talk. It's not coming from their heart, it's fake. So unless a topic is relatable, it's something that we feel we can talk about, we talk about it. Otherwise, not every topic we can talk about, so please don't get offended. Here is the topic, managing expectations for young couples. Beautiful topic. We touched on it today, but I think we should do a part 2. This is a very, very, very important topic, and I think, Liza, this also covers dating.
Yes.
We have to talk about dating.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's amazing what's going on with the dating world, and I'm not even a matchmaker, but just hearing what the young generation is saying, just listening to what is in their mind-boggling. When we do the dating topic with you, I really encourage all the youngsters who are not married to watch it.
Yes, definitely. No
Okay.
problem.
We will wrap it up. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you, Yocheved.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.